everything is online. And so instead of fighting it, I think we should join the movement. And this is how people are communicating these days. So we should all get on board.
Dr. Duncan says, if you want to know about business, health, and places to go, welcome to the show. Yeah, welcome to the show. If you know that you want to grow your business, your practice, and portfolio, welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast for chiropractic practice owners. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, founder and CEO of Simply Southern Chiropractic Center in South Carolina. I'm a chiropractor by trade in an entrepreneur's body. I'm excited to guide you through this journey at the crossroads of chiropractic care and the art of successful practice management. If you haven't already, check out my website, milliondollarchiro.co, where you can access all of our previous podcasts, online courses, and gain more insight on one-on-one coaching with me. And don't forget to stay connected by following us on all social media platforms at $1 Million Chiro. You can listen to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast, on all popular streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Ultimately, if you enjoy what you're hearing, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a glowing 5-star review. Reviews allow us to hear from our listeners and what interests you. Now, let's get to the backbone of it all. Everybody, it's Dr. Duncan here, and we are filming episode 17 today, which is the importance of personal branding. I have my executive assistant, Kelsey, with us, and we are ready to get started.
Hey everybody, I'm happy to be back again today and talking about a really important topic that Dr. Duncan is very passionate about, which is personal branding. So let's go ahead and just hop on into some questions that we get to ask Dr. Duncan today about personal branding. So the first big question, Dr. Duncan, of this topic is the idea of branding yourself. So let's talk about that first. And what is this idea of branding yourself even include?
Yeah, so to me, branding myself means I own and started Simply Southern Chiropractic Center in Greenville, South Carolina, and part of me is my practice.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk about branding your clinic as a clinic owner, and then also branding yourself as the face or leader of your clinic. And so we can kind of get started with both of those. So what questions do you have for me to begin with?
So let's go ahead and first kind of talk about branding yourself and why does it matter. So you have your clinic, you have, what it's a very common theme of branding for your clinic. But why does branding yourself actually even matter when it comes to being a practice owner?
Sure. I really think this has become a bigger deal in the last 4 to 5 years, probably since COVID.
Mhm.
People are finding services, they're finding providers, they're finding goods to buy online, and we've got to have a presence online. So for me, the reason that I began branding myself as the owner and leader of Simply Southern Chiropractic Center is to help generate patients in our community and for hiring. So I've learned that when we hire assistants or when we're hiring chiropractors, maybe out of chiropractic school, they're going to look at our business page on social media, but they're also going to look at me. And it's also, to me, I see my social media pages almost as an outward resume of myself so that people can see what am I all about. So a lot of what I'm about is this practice. It's like a child to me. So this is so much of who I am, and that is woven into my personal, social, and branding. Just it includes my personal life and so much of my business life, which is Simply Southern Chiropractic Center. And those are, to me, they're one. I don't have a lot of separation there.
Right. And I feel like for a lot of practice owners, would you say that that's the same?
Oh, for sure. Like if you're a business owner, that's what you're a slave to your business,
Right.
probably, in some capacity. And your business is your life. And so that's a big part of what you do and hopefully what you enjoy. And you want to display that. And I think that branding yourself on a personal level helps people and potential staff members and your staff members get to know you a little bit better. And I think this was different 10 years ago when I
Sure.
started. Now everything is online. And so instead of fighting it, I think we should join the movement. And this is how people are communicating these days. So we should all get on board.
Right. So when it comes to branding yourself, Dr. Duncan, what does all of that even mean? Like what are all the little tiny details that is included in the idea of branding yourself?
So for me, I just use the platforms that I like.
Mhm.
So I'm a millennial, so we're on Instagram. That's where we live. Gen Zs, I believe you guys really like TikTok.
Mhm.
I missed the Snapchat mark. I don't know who's on Snapchat. I don't do that.
It
And
stops
then
in high school. I think you should be done with Snapchat in high school.
I'm pretty sure Dr. Robbins still loves Snapchat. He's one of our doctors in our clinic. So I guess that could go for any age,
Sure.
really. And then on a professional note, definitely LinkedIn. We use that, especially for myself and for our practice. And
Mhm.
so just choosing the platforms that you like and going from there. We have a website for Million Dollar Chiro. It's milliondollarchiro.co. That's where we host our podcast. We have our monthly blogs that I write about. And so that's the place online, a digital platform for people to get to know me and more about my brand.
Right. So let's go ahead and just first talk about when you realized that branding mattered. I know you said that it kind of came through with COVID, but was there a specific moment in time that you were like, okay, we got to do something?
Sure. I think it was COVID. So when I opened up my first office in 2015, I did not even have a website, Kelsey, for 6 months maybe,
Okay.
because I flat out, I just couldn't afford it.
Right.
We had spent so much money on a upfit and remodel and equipment, and, I had gotten my first, staff member, and I just couldn't afford a website. Looking back, I don't know how we did that. You cannot do that in 2024. You have to have a website. Now, websites, I think, are a lot easier to create on your own.
Sure.
They can be a lot cheaper, and so it was a different time. I don't know how we did that, but I went along from about 2015 to 2020, and we had a website, we had an office, social media account, but I was not great at it. I would post, a couple times, uh, a year really, but then when COVID hit, I realized everything is going online, and we have to make sure that we have an online presence because if we don't, we're gonna get left behind. And so I think COVID, especially in the summer of 2020, was when I realized I need professional help with our social media, and I need a digital marketing team. Like, that is when it really hit home for me. So
So with the branding and like the promoting yourself and who you are and promoting Simply Southern Chiropractic Center, you've had that ability. I mean, from the get-go, you have known what this brand is from the get-go, but when it came to yourself, did you kind of have the same when it came to promoting yourself and branding yourself?
with my personal social media, the whole point of me doing this is I just realized, when we're hiring, of course, I'm looking at a potential hire's social media pages. I'm checking them out online, and I know that they're checking me out online too. So let me give them what they want to see. I can give them a peek into my world, what I'm about, um, what I am involved in, what I'm passionate about. And I think that's just part of being a leader. So in this digital age, I really fought this for a long time
Mhm.
because I still to this day, I'm a true believer of there's certain things that are not professional to talk about. And my staff know this. We don't talk about politics with patients. It's not appropriate. We don't talk about, religion with patients. It's really not appropriate. We don't talk about other hot topics, abortion, gay marriage. Like we just don't discuss these things and our opinions on them with patients, because we're here to help people in our community, no matter, what their race, gender, sexuality is. I
Sure.
mean, we are here to help our community, and it's just not appropriate. So we don't talk about these things, and we don't touch on these subjects in our clinic. And I don't talk about those things on my personal social media, but I've always been, I guess, nervous about letting people into my personal life. You know, I've always been nervous, well, maybe they wouldn't agree with my beliefs
Sure.
on this or that or whatever. And you don't have to agree with somebody to work with them or like them, but not everybody is, to be honest, is mature enough to
Right.
realize that. So, but then I realized, like, personally, I mean, I go to work and come home, and I love this practice, and that's my whole life pretty much. And I might do some things with my husband on the weekends. We may go out to eat, or I don't know, go to the beach or something. But beyond that, I mean, that's pretty much who I am. And so I always just I'm a private person anyways.
Right.
And I don't think and this is my opinion. I don't think it's appropriate to go, if you're an example, and if I'm an example and a leader for other people, I don't think it's appropriate for me to go on social media telling people that I'm tired, or I'm stressed out, or just wearing my emotions on my sleeve. Like, I know we're in this age of people are being more transparent and they're trying to be real, but that is not me. And I am, I still believe in fake it till you make it, and I think that's part of being optimistic and hopeful. Like, yes, you may be stressed out, or I may, not be feeling great. I don't need to express this to the world. I'm gonna have a positive attitude, try the best that I can, and I think that you can sort of, I guess manifest is a trending word. You can manifest, a different sort of situation or a different outlook. Is being positive.
Right. And so, kind of talk us through some common mistakes that chiropractors can make, practice owners, honestly, any chiropractor that can make about their personal brand. What mistakes could potentially be made in that?
Sure. So I will say this first. So people connect with people. People don't really connect with brands, they connect with people.
Hmm.
So when you're branding yourself as a clinic owner or as a community leader, people want to know about you and what you're doing. Same thing with your clinic. Like, feature people. Like, I try not to be on our personal office social media that much. I like my doctors being on social media. I like our staff. I want to showcase all that we have to offer. Our clinic is not all about me. And so when I branded myself as a leader and as a practice owner, I just thought that was more appropriate to do on my own page, because our office cannot run without some of our I love I say this all the time, but I'm so lucky to have the doctors that we have on our team, and they see patients at this point more than I do, and they are the face of our practice, and I really want to showcase them. This office could not run without them, and I think you need to have that perspective when you are branding your office, and if you want to give people a window into your life as a practice owner, you can do that on your personal page. So back to your question, Kelsey, about what are common mistakes that chiropractors make when branding themselves. I think the number one mistake is not having a separate account for yourself and for your office. Your personal social media pages do not need to be your office pages. I am very, I don't wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't share a lot, if I'm struggling with something or in my personal life. I don't do that. But if you do share those things, that's even more reason for you to separate yourself from your office social media pages. If you can't help yourself with political posts, you 100% need to have separate personal and professional office social media pages. So, I mean, I'm not saying that you can't on your personal page, you can do whatever you want to. Like you can post what you want, you can share what you want. That's not my style. If I'm really passionate about something, I'll share it. But I think that's the biggest mistake that chiropractors make. Like you need to have a separate social media account on whatever platforms you want to for your office. The other reason is you want to have something that is eventually sellable. So, I want to be a practicing chiropractor, for the next 30 years of my life. But say I was close to retirement, I was getting ready to pack things up. You want something to be able to sell, and that can be sold with your business, your social media accounts, um, active your Google pages with reviews. You want to have you want to be able to transfer those over. You just want to have something that goes with the clinic. And say, for example, you are a chiropractor, you're the practice owner, and you get horribly injured in a car wreck and you can't adjust anymore. And then you tragically have to close your clinic or sell the clinic. I mean, you need some assets to be able to sell, especially if you don't own the real estate where you're practicing. If you're just renting, you really don't have that much to sell. You have your equipment to sell. You can't guarantee that the patients you have come in your clinic are going to stay with the next chiropractor, but an asset would obviously be your equipment, maybe your x-ray machine, and then your social media accounts, especially if they are, years old and they are active and you've got a lot of followers. That is something that would go with the sale of the business.
So the mistakes that you had just mentioned, was that something you had fallen into when it came to putting your personal with your business, or was that something that you always separated?
I always separated that.
Good.
I don't know why people would even people don't think through things.
Right.
Yes, I thought through that. My biggest issue was I have recently in the last year or so, after starting this $1 million chiro company as an industry, trying to be and help our industry and become an industry leader, I have made my personal social media pages public, and they were locked down and very private. And so that was a big deal for me, was sort of opening up my life and
Mm,
sort of sharing, what are the struggles that I have as a practice owner, what are some advice, a lot of things I've learned, I want to be able to give tips to business owners, and that required me to have a public
right.
social media presence, and that was really hard for me. No, I've always separated. You've got to have assets to sell,
Right.
and I want to be able, if I couldn't practice anymore or something happened, I want to be able to, cut this off, sell our practice, sell the building, sell the assets that go with it, which includes a social media presence. So I've set things up like that from the very beginning. I think that is a lot of things that I talk about in our coaching. Like you want to set yourself up in case something does happen and you have to stop practicing, or you have to let go of your clinic or shut down your clinic if something happened. You need to be able to do that and have that set up on the front end and not wait till you're in an emergency situation.
Right. And what's even interesting too about like Instagram, and I know a lot of meta stuff, with that, I feel like you have to kind of separate. If you separate your business versus your business side of the like of the social media, you have to be a little more particular with, but with your personal, you can kind of get away with doing more personal things because of the fact that it's not a business account.
Sure. And as time progresses and social media is necessary for every business, this is vital. Hopefully, as you grow, you will outsource this.
Right.
You'll get a social media manager, you'll get a marketing team that'll help you, and you want to have a separate account for your business that they can log into that's not your personal account, so that you can keep those things separate and there are no issues, with them. I don't know, seeing things that you may not, or messages from college or
Sure.
pictures or whatever, especially if you're my age. Like, we did not grow up with social media. I got that in college. And so we didn't know, I don't think people my age we know this now, but things on the internet, once it's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. We did not realize this. We learned this. We all did. And so I think you growing up when you did, and then me growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, we were learning a lot about social media. You know, we didn't have cell phones that we carried around with us all the time back then. I got a Facebook in college. Like, Instagram didn't exist. Like, we didn't have iPhones. And so we have learned as this technology has evolved. And I think now in 2024, we have to have a presence online as a business. We have to have a presence online as a industry leader or as a leader of your team and company. And I think there needs to be separation there where we can outsource the marketing aspect of social media for your office to somebody else. They can log into your office account and they don't have to be involved at all in your personal account or, what's going on in your personal life.
Right. And that's what's really interesting, you mentioning that growing up in different generations too. Like, we grew up in a Gen Z kind of a mindset of, in kindergarten, I was being told what's on the internet is going to be on the internet forever. So, um, that's been instilled in us from the get go. So I feel like you guys had a bit of a learning curve when it came to that, because it was just exciting that social media was even a thing.
Right. Right.
So, kind of talk us through some of the biggest, like the bigger challenges that chiropractors face when it comes to trying to brand themselves, and how they can overcome the bigger challenges that they have to deal with.
So I think now people use social media for their news. So I think the whole point of social media and having an online presence is, what can you give to somebody else? Like, what can someone get from your content, from your videos? And so this is my opinion for our office. I like to do fun things, and keep it light and airy. But then also, we're trying to do more and more informational videos.
Right.
When I first opened my practice, and this was 10 years ago, I'll be honest with you, Kelsey, I was not going to social media for news or information. I just went totally for entertainment.
Right.
So back in the day, I would put entertaining posts on our social pages, like staff birthdays, pictures. People love pictures of people.
Right.
So, and information about people. So I just put so much up about people. And it's not until COVID, when we couldn't get information to patients for a while in the clinic, that we started putting informational content on our social media pages. And I think that since COVID, that has stuck. It has not changed. People are they want to try to learn or get things from social media. And I think that's how social media has shifted. And I think that's great. Like, let's give patients a taste of what we have to offer in the clinic with some instructional videos, and let's give them a visual picture of what their appointment's going to look like in their office. I think on the personal branding side, I can give you a picture into my life and how life is as a practice owner, owning multiple businesses, running a team of over 20 people. Like, I think that helps people that do have a business, or maybe want to start a chiropractic business, to see what it's like. And yeah, it's fun. I love it. This is my dream job, is running a business and running a clinic. But I do think it's good for people to see how hard it is, and I try to be very realistic with, yes, I love it, and I know that this is my God-given purpose on this earth, is to be a chiropractor and to be a business owner. But it is very stressful. I know it's probably going to take years off of my life, quality years. I know that. And I think people need to see that side of it too.
Right, and you do a really good job of showing off both sides. I think even for our office, we do a good job of showcasing the fun, but also the educational. And a good point was made with the, since COVID, I do feel like we've had such a shift in social media, and shifting the branding to more of an educational aspect is really important. Okay, so last question, and I guess biggest question of all that I'm sure a lot of practice owners are curious about is, how can chiropractors differentiate themselves when it comes to their brand in a market of a ton of chiropractors who are also trying to brand themselves?
Well, I don't think right now a lot of chiropractors are trying to brand
Okay.
themselves. And I don't think I really, if you, this is my opinion.
Mm,
If you are not a chiropractic, if you're not a practice owner, I mean, if you want to, go right ahead. But I would probably not have a public social media page. I mean, I spend a lot of time on social media and the computer, and we have to have social media, we have to have the computer, we have to have this technology, I understand, but don't consume your life with this unless that's something that you wanna do. If you are a practice owner and you are you're trying to be an industry leader and you are a leader in your community, I do think in this day and age, it is very important to brand yourself and have a public social media presence.
mhm,
But if you don't have to, I would not do it. I don't think it's great for, you know, it's a time waster. Like, you can be so much more productive doing other things and having relationships with humans and your patients, in person. And so, and I, it dri I'm gonna be real with you. It drives me nuts when people say, "Oh, my social media is so depressing. Like, I doom scroll." Like, that's on you. You choose what you look at. You choose to follow. You choose what you look at. And what I see on social media is pretty entertaining, and in my opinion, it's pretty funny, but it's a waste of time. Yes. Can I get some information from it? Yes. Can I get entertainment from it? Yes. But I've used it as a procrastination tool, and I could be doing other things or resting, and taking that time to go on a walk or, even talk to my husband or family. So I think there's a time and a place for it, and I'm not against it. I'm not one of these people that doesn't wanna use technology or even takes, like, social media breaks. I don't do that either, because I think that's a part of life now, but
mhm.
it's a time waster, really. So, I think if you are a chiropractor and you aren't a practice owner and you don't wanna be on social media or active, don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more to life than being on your phone or on the computer. If you are a practice owner and you want to brand yourself, and this podcast has encouraged you to do that, I then go for it, and I think you need to go big or go home. Just do a good job with it. You don't have to post every day. I don't do that. I post probably every couple weeks, but it gives people a little insight into my life and what my interests are and my passion for chiropractic and serving our community.
That's fantastic. All right, well, Dr. Duncan, anything else when it comes to branding yourself? Any like, "Oh, and one more thing" kind of comments?
Well, to all the millennials out there and, Gen Xers, like, and I remind myself of this, whatever we put on the internet stays. I know we've learned that over time, but, I'm very careful about that. Um, Still to this day, you don't want any skeletons and you don't want anything to get you in trouble. Give people insight into your life, but, be careful what you put out there.
Right, that's very important. All right, well, that's all we have today. Talking about branding yourself and Dr. Duncan's kind of insight on that. So, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with another episode soon.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap on another episode of Million Dollar Chiro, the podcast. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world where chiropractic care meets successful practice management. I'm Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, your host. Remember, you can find all of our previous episodes, online courses, and details about personalized coaching with me on our website, milliondollarchiro.co.